Welcome back to the second part of Trig 5.3 notes. This section of the notes is going to deal with condensing logs. So we're going to be looking at problems that have multiple logs in it. So for example, 2 logs or 2 natural logs or 3 natural logs. And we're going to work backwards and we're going to consolidate it down so our answer is log of something, 1 log. So we're working backwards now. In the previous section when we saw division, we would think subtraction. When we saw multiplication, we think addition. Well, in this section, when we see subtraction, we want to look to condense it by writing it as division. So when I see 2 logs that are being subtracted, I could write it as 1 log that is being divided. First log divided by the second log. So the first log would be in the numerator, the second log would be in the denominator. When I look at this next problem here, I'm seeing addition, so I want to think multiplication. So addition, we would change it into multiplication. But I also see some coefficients, and I want to change those into exponents. And I want to do that first before I do my addition as multiplication. So let's take these coefficients that are out in the front, and let's write them as the exponents. So this would be the natural log of 8 squared plus the natural log of z to the 5th. Anytime you can actually, work with this number here, 8, and square it, do that. So we get the natural log of 64 plus the natural log of z to the 5th. So we did the coefficients, wrote them as exponents. Now let's change the addition and write it as multiplication. So we can condense these 2 logs that are being added to 1 log that is being multiplied by each other. So this would be the natural log of 64 z to the 5th. And that was my answer over here. When I'm looking at this next problem, I see a natural log that I'm subtracting, and another natural log that I'm subtracting, and another natural log that I'm subtracting. So I also see some coefficients out in the front. Always try to deal with the coefficients first, writing those as exponents. So first thing I'm going to do is write my coefficients as exponents. So this would be the natural log of 3 to the 4th power minus the natural log of x squared minus the natural log of y. Well, I know that 3 to the 4th power is 64, so I'm going to write that as, actually no, 3 to the 4th power is 81, sorry. So the natural log of 81, and then minus the natural log of x squared minus the natural log of y. Now when you have two subtractions, or 3 things that you're actually subtracting in this term, three logs, natural logs, what you want to do is write it as, change your subtraction to division. So you write down the natural log once, so all 3 of these natural logs just get written down as 1, and you divide all 3 of these. First one divided by the second one divided by the third one. Well, you can't actually take and divide 3 terms like this. So instead of taking this fraction, 81 over x squared, and dividing it by y, let's change it so that we multiply it by the reciprocal. So this y would come over here as 1 times y, and we would end up with a natural log of 81 over x squared y. So when you are consolidating multiple logs like this, first thing you want to do is always deal with the coefficients, then change in this case, your subtractions to division, and then you can't divide 3 terms like that, so instead take the fraction in the numerator and divide it by or multiply it by the reciprocal of the denominator here. Okay, keep in mind with this next problem that we have a binomial, so we don't want to break that up. We don't want to separate that. What I want to do first is take my coefficients and write them as exponents. So this 2 would get moved as an exponent, and this 1/2 would get written as an exponent as well. So we're going to change coefficients into exponents first. Natural log of 3 squared minus the natural log of this binomial being raised to the 1/2. Get that a little bit nicer. Now, one of the things I can do is I can actually do 3 squared. That's the natural log of 9. And remember that raising it to the 1/2 power, if I have something being raised to the 1/2 power, that's the same as taking the square root of that something. So in this problem, it would be the natural log of the square root of x squared plus 1. And I just noticed that my 9 went away over here. I must have clicked the wrong button. So this was natural log of 9 here, and then minus the natural log of the square root of x squared plus 1. Now you can consolidate the two logs that you're subtracting, change your subtraction into division. So natural log of 9 divided by the square root of x squared plus 1. Now for what we're doing, we're going to leave this radical in the denominator. We're not going to go through and rationalize that. So we would leave our answer as a natural log of 9 over the square root of x squared plus 1. Taking a look at our last example here. Okay, looking at this next problem, notice we have a coefficient out in the front, and because it's in parentheses, it goes with both of these terms. So let's write our coefficient as exponents. So it would be the natural log of 4 to the third plus the natural log of x to the third, which I know 4 to the third is 64. Now I can change addition to write it as multiplication. So changing these two logs that are being added to one log that's being multiplied would result in that.